Hi, here's the Goldmund Quartet. Welcome back to our Coffee Talk series for IDAGIO Live. We're sitting here in one of our favorite cafes in Munich, our hometown. I want to say a big thank you to the owner, Bene, for providing this wonderful location for our series and spoiling us with such wonderful cappuccino. In this episode, we'll be talking about the Commedia dell'arte 3, a piece written by Canadian-Serbian composer Anna Sokolovic, a piece featured on our new album, Travel Diaries. And we're very excited and honored to have her here. She'll be joining us in a couple of minutes live for a coffee talk.
Yes, some weeks ago we had our CD release and we are very happy to present you our new album, Travel Diaries, with very special music of 5 very different contemporary composers. And this album is our journey through the last 10 years as a quartet. We started with quartet playing in 2010 and we were still in high school here in Munich. And since then we had the chance to travel a lot around the world and had some fantastic meetings with very interesting composers and the chance to discover their music. And this album is also like a little diary which shows the places we've been to and the story behind. Yeah, and you also can listen to the recordings here on IDAGIO by clicking the links.
Yeah, and I'm very happy now to introduce our guest today, Anna Sokolovic. She is an award-winning composer. Her works have been performed by a big number of well-known, famous orchestras, composers such as Kent Nagano, Yannick Nézet-Séguin, and she won last year, 2019, she won the Juno for Best Classical Composition and is also nominated for this year for her new violin concerto. So we've known her for now 5 years when we met her in Aix-en-Provence at the festival where she was composer in residence. And before we invite her to our talk, we would like to show you a little clip, a little documentary about her piece that we recorded on our CD, the Commedia dell'arte Part 3.
...2015 waren wir beim Festival in Aix-en-Provence. Dort war Anna Sokolovic Composer in Residence und wir durften mit ihr Commedia dell'arte erarbeiten, indem sie 3 Masken des italienischen Figurentheaters vertont. Durch die Einflüsse der Oper und ihre Impulse konnten wir so ganz neu erfahren, was es bedeutet, Theatralik und Musik auf der Bühne miteinander zu verbinden.
Do you hear me?
Welcome, Anna.
I'm here. Nice to see you after 5 years.
Yes, it's been a very long time. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Everything is great here. Actually, this is so incredible because actually the composers, when we are composing, we are always confined. So this is not that bad period for me.
We were going to ask, you're in Montreal right now, I assume?
Yes.
So everyone is locked down, everyone's at home.
Yes, so this is, and I'm drinking my morning coffee.
Hey, very good. But yeah, for us it's the afternoon coffee.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah. So how has this time period been for you so far, being locked down at home?
Yeah, what was difficult, it was stopping abruptly teaching at the university. We were lucky actually in North America because the schedule of the universities is not the same as in Europe. Actually, at the middle of March, it was like 3 weeks to go to finish our year school. So we had to teach for 3-4 weeks online, which was quite bizarre at the beginning, but for composition much better than for interpretation. You can imagine that for the performers it's much more difficult than for the composers. But this part was a little bit difficult, but after that, you know, a lot of meetings we did online, and a lot of things happening online, you know, like the life. So all compositional life, all creative life we are doing alone, composers. So for us, it's probably the least problematic to work. We can do it without any mask and do it alone at home, as we do.
And do you have the feeling that you can also use the time now to be creative, or do you have the feeling that it's you know, because some also say, okay, I have the freedom now, I have the time to compose, but they feel like you know that their creative process is being like a little bit limited in these times.
Yes, actually, the creative process itself, it's not limited, but at the same time, I am influenced by things which are happening outside. Not at the beginning. The first 2-3 weeks, I had my things in my head, which I was planning to do. But little by little, this distanciation starts to take part of my composition. And actually, you know, we are all composers very much influenced by the life outside of ourselves. So it influenced actually my music. This is very interesting.
Yeah, that's like for us, we also had experience, like for me, like the first couple of weeks was also like you didn't know what was happening, and I think like the first couple of weeks I didn't touch my instrument. I was like, you know, because you're just, but then after time, I mean, I think it lies in the nature of humans. You get used to the situation and you cope with it.
Of course, I mean, you know, I'm coming from the Balkans, so we remember very difficult situations. So I'm not telling that it's nothing this pandemic. Of course, it's a very, very serious thing, and we had to take care of it. But in human history, the things like this or worse happened, and we had to adjust. We had to continue to do our thing, and we had to continue to work and to create and to adapt to the new situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So, as I said before, you have, like I told our audience that you've won awards for your symphonic music, a lot of them, and also for your operas. Like our first contact with your music was at the festival in Aix-en-Provence. On the first night, we saw your opera, Svadba, which was staged there, and we were like in love with your style right away. So, and also you've written quite a few operas. I think recently you have also premiered another opera in Toronto, I think. And so, my question is, would you call yourself an opera composer? And how does that relate then to your instrumental music, like to our chamber music?
This is a very interesting question, because I like to write each kind of music, and I like to work with the one performer for one instrument, and I like to work for opera. So everything inside and between is interesting for me. But I have this background in theater, even in ballet, classical ballet, when I was very little. And this stage experience, different than musical performer, actually made my taste and my love for music, for creation. So I love to write operas. I like stage, because this is really like Gesamtkunstwerk, this total art, and I like it very much. But you can see the piece which you recorded, Commedia dell'arte, is inspired by the theater. So I'm very, very often searching for these theatrical parts, even if I'm doing the blind music for the only for the concert.
Yeah.
For us, it was not only the first time when we worked with a living composer, but it was also the first time when someone made us also to act on stage, kind of. So in one piece, you told Christoph to be the really diva. And also this, if we are, I remember that you told us to exaggerate this cat-like scratching sounds and all the effects. So we were, this was also the first time that we tried really to act as not only to play, but also really to have visual contact and to show something like an actor. And I think it's extremely important to do this with these pieces, and it's also one important point to make them successful for the public, because if we exaggerate all these things, some people start laughing. I would like to ask you if people answer in this way, so not like sitting and only watching very still, but also how do you think about it?
You know what? I think I'm composing things. I'm a composer, and I like to work with performers. That's why I'm writing instrumental music, only instrumental music, because I like this contact with the and I have this luxury that my pieces are performed by many different kind of groups and soloists and orchestras, that I can experience different kind of interpretation. So I'm actually very much inspired by the human beings, and while working with them, I adjust some musical ideas. So you were very, very interesting for me. First, you were very young, but secondly, this piece I never heard live. It was commissioned by a German young string quartet, Anima, who doesn't exist anymore as a quartet, unfortunately, but they commissioned it as actually they performed the first part of this Commedia dell'arte 1, and they got the prize, Boris Pergamishkov prize in Berlin, and they commissioned me with this prize, the third part of Commedia dell'arte. And I wrote a piece from them, but I never worked with them. You know, they performed a piece and it was it. And then you performed it. So it was the first time that I had this opportunity to work on this piece with someone who's live and near to me. So I was very, very much inspired, but I worried also a little bit, because I remember, Pinkas, do you remember your Bloody Pizzicato?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember very good.
How it went, your Bloody Pizzicato? I mean, you really hurt yourself, because how do you manage to not bleed anymore?
Yeah, we found some good solution with some paper, or sometimes like a
or like a little plectrum.
Plectrum from the guitar. Yeah.
So anyhow, I don't know if it respond to your question, but it's there is, of course, it's Commedia dell'arte. Maybe I should take just 3 seconds to explain how the project came, why it's Commedia dell'arte 3. Just to go a little bit backwards, I don't know how is in Germany, but in Canada, the average composition commissions are 15 minutes in length. Mm-hmm. So each time we have a solo piece or orchestra piece or ensemble piece. Can you write for me a piece? How long? 15 minutes. Yeah. Okay. It's always. Is it the same in Germany?
It's sometimes even less. Like we had a few commissions that we were kind of like observing, and often it was like between 8 and 12 minutes.
Yes. Okay. So I was lucky about 15 minutes, and there is something you can develop in 15 minutes, but some other dramatical system you cannot. So I got at the same time commissions for 2 string quartets. One was for Banff International String Quartet Competition for imposed piece, and the other was from Brusini String Quartet, which is my Montreal very, very nice string quartet. And I said, goodness, why I don't compose one piece which can be in 2 parts, which could eventually where I can eventually add some other parts. So for first one, I composed 3 movements inspired by 3 characters from Commedia dell'arte, because I found that Commedia dell'arte had so many characters, and I could, until the end of the world, add another movements. So that's what actually happened after first 3 movements of the Commedia dell'arte 1 and 4 movements from the Commedia dell'arte 2 actually. The Anima Quartet commissioned me the Commedia dell'arte 3 with 3 other movements. So for now, we have 10 characters, 10 movements of this piece, which could be paired, and this is my idea, with other arts. So it was performed with an actor as a real Commedia dell'arte. It was performed with a dancer, or it could be performed as you do, just only in music, only with the music on the stage. What is also interesting that the groups, string quartets, can choose the number of 10 movements they want to play. They can choose order, and each time when we hear the piece, it's a different piece. You are performing 3 movements from the Commedia dell'arte 3, and are you all the time keeping the same order?
No, actually not, because we knew that you were giving us the freedom of being flexible with the order. So like for us also on our new album, it was like that we also tried to get like a big architecture for the whole album, like from beginning to end. And like for this, we had the feeling it fits better if we start with a different movement. So we started, I think, with the Signora. This is the first movement we started out with. Then we had the Brigella, and then at the end the Innamorati. So yeah, I mean for us it was such a wonderful experience also to as Florian said, to be encouraged to also act. And I think this is something like this dialogue with a living composer is something that's so precious. And I mean, you say it's for you, it's very important also this dialogue. I always find like this is just like from our perspective. I find it must be so interesting for you if you don't have the chance to work with somebody on a piece and then hear it, because I mean, like for us, the beautiful part is that we could actually work on it, that you could give us like the insight on how things should sound. And I always wondered like, if you ever had like maybe also a situation where you didn't have this chance and you were like surprised by the way the piece was composed, because it like was different in your mind, in your imagination of how it was supposed to sound.
Yeah, you know what? Performers are always right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if something is not how I imagined, and it could be sometimes good, even better, this is actually my fault. Yes, how I see this as a very abstract question. Of course, the composers have something very, very abstract in our heads. The music, sometimes it's something which is as a magma, is even not a sound. Sometimes very, very, very concrete things, and sometimes very, very different, less concrete. Actually, it's very, very often less concrete. And then we have to introduce these very abstract ideas to something which is very concrete, which is notes, the duration with the dynamics, and to put it on the paper, And then the performers has to look at something which is very concrete and to perform it, to put it back to the abstraction. So there is, to the audience. So this, like this trinity with composer, performers, and the audience. But there is also this connections which is made by writing, putting things down on the paper. And if we don't put right information on the paper, performers, they don't know what to do. Sometimes we have to add a word. Moderato means something. Maybe in 21st century, we need to put something more than moderato. But maybe if it's easy, if it's enough, moderato, we can stay with moderato. So it's our job to find a way to put the most clear possible score and not to over-notate it. If it's too many, you know, if you have to read a whole novel or a whole book,
Yeah, we know that.
before you, it's too much. So this is our job to communicate our ideas. Of course, this is difficult stylistically if you don't know the composer, because we are not in the period of the human time where stylistically it was very clear what we are doing. You know, in Mozart time we knew how to perform some codes in the music, which is not possible with our time. But if you know well the composer, you could do it as a performer. So I don't know if it's a good response to your question, but I think that this communication is very important. That this abstraction in composers' heads comes out from performers' performance in the same way.
Yeah.
Or in the similar way. Sometimes it's not exactly the same, but sometimes it's even better. So
That's the best case.
Yeah. Ideally.
I like when I'm surprised when actually the decoding my codes, that you see something which is even more interesting than I thought. This is even more
Yeah, I mean that's something that like of course it's like also I think like the response like this is like also a responsibility of the instrumentalist, that you really take the time to dig into the language of a composer, to really find, I mean that's something we do with no matter which music we play. Of course we know kind of like the rules of the time back from Haydn and Mozart and Beethoven, but I think it's also so important that it was something that was a challenge also of this album, because we had like all contemporary music and each composer with a unique language kind of, and so to really take the time to find a way of really getting everything that we feel in this music to transport it. That it's not theoretically, that at the end, and that's something we also learned with working together with living composers as with you, and that at the end it's so important that it's like not like all the little details, but it's the moods, it's the atmosphere, it's what's actually, you know, over all this theoretic notation, that's what really comes over.
Yeah. And I think for us in the end it is like the most satisfying feeling that like if we've worked on a new piece, that then we can play it for the composer, for you, and then get like actually the feedback that yes, this is what I had in mind. So that is for us like the ultimate goal. I have one more question, also about Commedia dell'arte. So we recently we gave an interview for the radio station here, where our host, he kind of fact-checked our knowledge about Commedia dell'arte. So he made us perform and dance the Arlequin, which I think was very silly. I'm not going to do it again now, but it was apparently not so bad. But so I'm wondering, because you already wrote 3 parts for the Commedia dell'arte, do you have more parts in mind? And if you already do, is there a special character that you really want to write, or maybe even something? For example, if you write one movement for us, do you have a character in mind?
Oh, you know, we can discuss, of course. You know, this Commedia dell'arte 3 was discussed with the Anima String Quartet, and we choose together characters. For the 2, it was actually presented with the dancer Marc Boivin here in Quebec, who worked with the string quartet Bozzini. So we talked about which character we will take, and like Ruzzante is actually the real person. We choose because he wanted to do it. So if you ask me to do, of course, this is the idea, to continue this cycle. And if you have ideas of other string quartet, just you know where to where to knock.
Nice.
We will. Maybe the Harlequin, if it, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun
neat.
character. Yeah.
Maybe we can dance also for it. That was something like this. He made us do like this.
Oh yeah.
All of us.
Yeah, that's the
All
Harlequin.
of you. Oh goodness.
Christoph was the best at it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Raphael also will dance.
And I have practice from the part 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we are hoping that we will see you very, very soon again, since we have a concert coming up in Montreal and in October, where we will actually perform your piece, the Commedia dell'arte number 3. And for that, we have thought of a really, like a program that would match also that topic and that idea. So we thought that we have a program that's called A Night at the Opera, where we play only pieces by opera composers. And we start with Puccini, Cresantemi, and then we play an early quartet by Johann Strauss, and then Richard Strauss, sorry. Richard Strauss. Almost, yes. And then your Commedia dell'arte, and at the end we will perform Giuseppe Verdi's string quartet. So we're very, very much looking forward, and we really hope that this current situation, that Corona is not gonna keep us from that. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
In this, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we hope to see you there. And thank you so much now for taking your time. Unfortunately, we have to end the episode. We could go on for hours. So we haven't seen each other since 5 years, so there's just so much we could actually talk about. But thank you so much, and we wish you all the best, and hope to see you this fall again.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you everyone for watching our second episode of our IDAGIO Live Coffee Talk. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we are looking forward to welcome you for our next episode next Sunday at 4 p.m. And if you want to see more content on IDAGIO, go on their website. There's master classes, performances, more interviews. So check it out, and if you have any questions to us, then you can email to IDAGIO, comment in the video, or contact us directly on Facebook or Instagram. So thank you very much, and we'll